So what were the comics that I picked up this week? Stay tuned to find out. All right, you guys, well, it is Wednesday, January 27th. You know what that means. Another new comic book day. And if you cashed out these last few days on GameStop stock, you might want to throw some money at some of these books I have here. But before we get into it, I'm going to ask that you please, if you haven't done so already, click that subscribe button down below, smash that like button, hit that notification bell, get those updates whenever I post new videos just like this. And if you want to see some of the other nerdy shit that I love to collect, like statues, comic books, obviously, trading cards, you can find me on Instagram at MarkNerdyAF. I'd appreciate it if you guys followed me there. All right, guys, well, it is a short week for me for indie titles. I'm always picking up the new Rick and Morty spinoffs. This one is called Rick and Morty Presents Death Stalkers. And if you've watched Rick and Morty, you know they had an episode called Post-Apocalyptic Dimensions, and that was mainly focused around this character right here riding the motorcycle. His name is Hemorrhage. I'm not sure who this is. It kind of looks like Squanchy, but it's not. It's a character with like feet attached to his or her ears. I don't know. Kind of weird. Interesting though. Looking forward to learning more about that character. Overall, from what I read in the solicitation, this is going to be about post-apocalyptic Seattle. So Hemorrhage here is riding through the ruins of Seattle looking for more isotope 322, which is a very powerful and essential mineral like rock. I'm excited to see where this one goes. Big Rick and Morty fan. If you're not a Rick and Morty fan, obviously I wouldn't recommend picking this up, but I'm always going to be grabbing these. All right, well, I told you it was going to be a short week for indies. We're ready on to Marvel. And the next issue I have is Captain Marvel 25. I stopped reading this, I think, after like issue 10. The story was okay. I'm not saying it was terrible, but it just wasn't that book that I needed on my pull list. However, Juan Cabal did this cover and has been doing these amazing, they're kind of like Virgin variant covers, but they're not. I mean, they have his signature little stamp here with his name and then Stormbreakers. But I think they look really cool. He did one for Black Panther, I think, a couple weeks ago, and that one got pretty hot. So I saw this. I think it's a 1 in 10 or 1 in 25. But yeah, I saw this and instantly wanted it. I think these will look really cool being displayed. So this is one of those books where I just grabbed it for the cover. Next up for Marvel, I told myself I wouldn't buy all the King in Black tie-ins, but here I am. And I have Daredevil 26. I actually think Marvel with King in Black is doing a great job with their tie-ins. DC obviously is very well known for a shit ton of tie-ins, like for Death Metal, for any of their other big events. I think they do a lot of tie-ins for Deceased. But King in Black has had some really good tie-ins that have benefited the overall story. So I had no problem picking this up. And with everything going on with Daredevil, you just never know. It seems like this run has had a lot of important things happening in it. So for speculation purposes, maybe you want to grab this just to have in your collection, but it is a really good series too. So if you're here just for the story, you can't go wrong with it. We're on to DC already. First up for DC, I have Batman: The Adventures Continue, number 8. So Batman the Animated Series was actually it was the first medium that really got me into Batman. I love sitting down on the floor with my bowl of cereal and just looking up at the TV and watching Batman the Animated Series. Some of my favorite early memories in childhood. And of course, this was the follow-up. It's Batman Adventures, essentially the same thing as the animated series on TV, with the same type of characters and art style that we get from Paul Dini, Bruce Timm at the time. But Paul Dini is on this right now with Templeton, I believe, is doing the majority of the art, if not all of it. And you'll see it's focused around Christmas here, which I believe is because when this series came out, I think they had to put it on hiatus, or at least they had to hold off on releasing it because of the pandemic. So I think we're getting a lot of these issues later on. This probably was supposed to come out in December, but it's been an overall good series. There were a couple characters that showed up, some new appearances that we got in the first couple issues that were really important. But I'm going to continue reading this, and if you like Batman the Animated Series, I think you should too. Speaking of awesome DC series, we have Batman White Knight Presents Harley Quinn. This is book 4. This is a DC Black Label title. And I think this is one of the, if not the best title right now for DC Comics. I love the story that's happening. Again, with Batman the Animated Series, we did have a pretty iconic character from that TV show up in the second issue, I think, of this book. Regardless, this is one that I think you should be keeping in your collection for a long time. I think this is going to get a lot of praise down the road, as it has been getting right now. And it is one of those DC stories that does a great job at focusing around the detective aspects, to their characters. Usually it's Batman. In this case, it's actually Harley Quinn, which makes it quite interesting. There is a lot of good that's coming out of this run right now. And I believe it is a miniseries, so we should only have a couple more issues left of this. Maybe 6. Could be wrong. This is another one I think you should be getting. All right, last 2 books up for me this week. We have DC Future State Dark Detective number Dos. This is a Gabriel Del Auto cover, one of my favorite artists doing DC Comics right now. The way that Batman is just overall depicted in this, I mean, it's Batman. Super distraught, just screaming at the top of his lungs, standing on top of a freaking blown up building with rebar sticking out. Yeah. This is my cover of the week. Man, guys, there's a lot going on with DC Future State. I know there are a shit ton of titles out right now. This is probably top 3. There's only a few more of this, and it's one of the better Future State runs, so pick it up. All right, and finally, I love this cover too. It is Future State Aquaman number 1. And featured here on the cover, we actually have Andy Curry, the daughter of Mira and Aquaman, of Arthur Curry. We, of course, have Aqualad here as well, and I feel like on this episode, I'm just telling you all the TV shows that I love. Rick and Morty, Batman the Animated Series. Well, Young Justice was one of those too. And Aqualad was one of my faves in it. So I thought they did a great job with this cover. Really cool. Of course, you got the beluga whale in the background, the great white. Actually, that might just be, that's not a beluga, that's just a blue whale maybe? I don't know, I should get better with my marine biology, I guess. But yeah, it's an awesome looking cover. New character, first appearance. Get some insight into who she is, I hope. And Aqualad taking on that mantle for Aquaman. This is a really exciting book with these new characters and Aqualad here. I think there is a lot of potential with where they can go with this. So we'll see how these next couple of issues pan out. And I think at least this first issue, it's going to be worth buying. All right, well, thanks for sticking around. Those were my picks for this week's New Comic Book Day. I would love for you guys to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you picked up this week. Let me know what I missed out on grabbing, what you were excited for. I want to hear from all of you. And again, if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button down below, smash that like button, hit that notification bell, get those updates whenever I post new comic book pick videos. But until next time, jumps out.